You know that feeling when a pressure cooker is just hissing, about to blow, but the valve is stuck? Well, what happens when a statistical pressure cooker refuses to vent? We are talking about a highly complex mathematical system pushed to its absolute limits. Day after day, it tracks behaviors, calculates probabilities, and just watches the statistical pressure mount. Then, a highly anticipated release window finally opens, and nothing happens. Literally nothing. Welcome to the unprecedented anomaly of May 17th.
So today we are diving into a brand new explainer of the V6.3 Swertres Cycle Intelligence Report, and man, it is a fascinating one. If you're a data nerd like us and you love behavioral modeling, pattern recognition, and just watching raw data transform into actionable intelligence, you are going to absolutely love this. We're breaking down a historic anomaly in this probabilistic tracking system, a day that basically defied all expectations and sent statistical gravity into complete overdrive. Okay, let's dive right into this. First, we'll look at the cascade window closing. Then we'll break down clean versus recycled hits and move right into the critical dormancy tier. After that, we check out the C16 architectural anomaly, model the upcoming draw, and finally ground it all with a reminder about probability, not a promise. Let's get to it. Section 1, the cascade window closes. So our whole story today kicks off with this exact event logged by the framework. It was a highly anticipated statistical release that just didn't happen, and that basically sets the stage for everything else we're about to look at. Now, the V6.3 framework tracks this thing called a level 3 cascade window. On May 16th, a massive 40-hour window officially opened up. The system was essentially screaming for a statistical correction from its highest pressure, most dormant cycles. It was due. But on May 17th, that 48-hour window closed. And get this, for the very first time in this entire dataset, the window closed without a single correction from the critical dormancy cycles. Zero. So let's break down the actual May 17th crime scene data. At the 2 p.m. draw, we got 519 in cycle 10. Then at 5 p.m., 255 in cycle 16. Now, both of these were what the system calls recycled numbers, basically echoes or repeats from previous months. At this point, the system was in a state of total creative collapse, just suffering from this long, drawn-out terminal recycling streak. But then, the 9 p.m. draw hits, 431 in cycle 1, boom, a clean hit. This finally broke that recycling streak with a brand new permutation. Section 2, clean versus recycled hits. To really grasp why that 9 p.m. draw was such a big deal, we need to quickly decode the mechanics of the V6.3 system. We have to understand the fundamental difference between the types of numbers this framework is tracking. Basically, the system categorizes every single result as either clean or recycled. A clean hit is a fresh base delivery. For example, that 431 combination, it had never previously appeared in cycle 1's recorded history. Complete blank slate. Contrast that with a recycled hit, like the 519 we saw at 2 p.m., that was a direct echo repeating from April 5th. See, when a system reaches a state of exhaustion, it leans heavily on those recycled repeats instead of generating fresh, clean data. And that brings us to a really vital metric, the efficiency increment, or EI. You can think of EI as a health score for a specific cycle. It tracks the ratio of fresh, clean deliveries against its recycled combinations. If a cycle just keeps spitting out back-to-back recycled hits, its EI score drops. It gets penalized for stagnation. It's kind of like a cycle's diet. Eat too many recycled leftovers and you get sluggish. But when a cycle delivers a clean hit, like cycle 1 did at 9 p.m., its EI improves. It tells us the cycle is actually recovering its capacity to produce fresh permutations. All right, section 3, the critical dormancy tier. This is where we get to the absolute core of the tension in this system. Because while some cycles are just busy recycling old numbers, others have gone completely, entirely silent. Let's introduce the sleeping giants that are causing all this statistical pressure to mount. The sheer weight of the situation is undeniable when we look at the pressure scores, or PS, of the 3 cycles currently stuck in what the system calls critical dormancy, or CDX. Cycle 13 is sitting at an 88 out of 100. Cycle 21 is at 92. And cycle 22, it is literally maxing out the data set at a staggering 97. These are the exact cycles that completely ignored the cascade window on May 17th. Let's zoom in on cycle 21 for a second. The system dubs this one the frozen giant. It currently holds a 57-day gap. That is the longest active silence on record. With a pressure score of 92, it has 4 priority missing targets: 991, 422, 020, and 446. And here's the crazy part.
Every single draw that passes without hitting cycle 21 pushes it further and further into exponential statistical gravity. The model notes that every single draw ignoring C21 right now is a massive statistical outlier. Then we have cycle 22, the triple oracle. Now this cycle is fascinating because it only ever delivers triple digits. It's been totally silent for 54 days, which is why it has that dataset maximum pressure score of 97. But even more incredibly, its deep missing target, the 999 combination, has been absent for roughly 10 months. About 10 months. Under the framework's rules, an absence that extreme flags a severe structural dormancy alert. The tension building up here is just off the charts. Moving on to section 4, the C13 architectural anomaly. While those giants are sleeping, let's pivot over to cycle 16. This one actually did deliver a result on May 17th during the 5 p.m. draw. And cycle 16 showcases a completely different, almost impossibly pure structural pattern that the system meticulously tracks. Okay, this number is shocking. Excluding the triples only cycle 22, cycle 16 has a 100% double-digit delivery rate across all 11 of its confirmed hits. You heard that right, 100%. Every single time C16 hits, it contains a double digit. 0 pure Lex-digit deliveries. That makes it the most architecturally pure non-triple cycle in the entire active set, no question. If we track the historical timeline of C16, we see it opened up back in January with 858, an opening double. In March, it delivered a clean 255. But what about May 17th? It delivered 255 again. It was a 54-day delayed resolution, meaning it was a highly recycled hit. So even though C16 finally activated, it didn't resolve its underlying pressure at all, because it simply didn't deliver a new combination. And because it just recycled that number, C16 left its true pressure entirely unresolved. It is still missing 4 key double-digit bases, perfectly aligning with its 100% architectural rule. 330 has the absolute highest pressure, followed closely by 996. Interestingly, 441 carries an asymmetrical anomaly flag. Why? Because a really similar structure, 118, has hit 3 times, while 441 hasn't hit even once. The model uses this pure architecture to map exactly where the cycle is most likely to go next. Section 5, modeling the upcoming draw. So, to recap, the dormant giants are compounding pressure, and active cycles are mostly just recycling old hits. So what does this all mean? How does the V6.3 model shift gears after the May 17th anomaly to project what happens next? Let's look at how this tension builds. Step 1, the cascade window closed without a correction. Step 2 is absolutely vital. In this framework, missed corrections act like a coiled spring. The pressure doesn't just dissipate, it exponentially compounds. Every single misdraw adds accelerating weight. And that triggers step 3. The system immediately enters standard correction watch mode for May 18th through 21st. The environment is now officially considered highly volatile. Based on all this compounding pressure, the system generates a data-driven priority tier for the next observation window. Priority 1 is cycle 22, targeting those missing triples, 222, 333, and 555. Priority 2 is our frozen giants, cycle 21, hunting for 991 and 446. Priority 3 is cycle 13. These are the exact missing suspects the framework is monitoring right now. The mathematical gravity pulling toward these specific targets is the strongest it has ever been in the entire dataset. Finally, section 6. Probability, not a promise. We've talked about massive pressure scores, 100% architectural purities, and coiled spring statistical gravity. But before we wrap this explainer up, we have to firmly anchor ourselves back in reality. We need to reiterate the actual scientific boundary of this complex behavioral modeling. The crucial point is exactly what the V6.3 executive summary explicitly states. All analysis is strictly probabilistic behavioral observation. All draws are independent random events. I can't stress that enough. Despite the incredible math, the compounding pressure, and all those anomaly flags, this is an intelligence framework for behavioral modeling. It is not a crystal ball, and it is certainly not a guaranteed prediction system. At the end of the day, every draw remains a fundamentally random event. Which leaves us with this final, thrilling question. We have an unprecedented 57-day silence from one cycle, a 10-month absence of a specific triple, and a cascade window that just slammed shut without a release. How long can this mathematical pressure cooker truly compound before a dormant cluster burst finally reshapes the entire data landscape? The math says it's imminent, but the randomness of the system holds the final card. Keep your eyes on the data. Until next time, keep analyzing.